Most people think walking away means giving up. They have been lied to their entire lives. Walking away is not retreat. It is a power move so clean, so precise, that most people will never have the guts to pull it off. Here is what nobody tells you about peace. You cannot negotiate your way into it. You cannot wait for it to arrive like a package on your doorstep. Peace is not given to you, it is claimed, and the only currency it accepts is the willingness to leave behind whatever is draining it from you. The Stoics figured this out roughly 2,000 years before we had social media, toxic situationships and bosses who email at 11 p.m. And today we are going deep into the art of walking away. 10 Stoic secrets that will rewire how you think about your time, your energy, and your power. These are not the greatest hits. No memento mori bumper sticker wisdom. This is the stuff the Stoics whispered, not shouted. And by the end of this video you are going to see every draining relationship, dead-end situation, and mental loop in your life completely differently. Let us get into it. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus was born a slave, not a metaphorical slave, an actual, literal slave. And yet by the time he was free, he had developed a philosophy so ironclad that Roman emperors studied his notes like a manual. His core insight was not about freedom from chains. It was about the two buckets everything in life falls into. What is yours to control and what is not? He called it the dichotomy of control, and here is the wild part. Most of us spend 90% of our energy in the wrong bucket. We rage at traffic, we rehearse arguments in the shower, we lose sleep over what someone said at a party 3 weeks ago. Epictetus would look at your life and say, with total calm, you are paying rent in a house you do not own. Walking away starts the moment you stop paying that rent. Now here is where it gets really interesting. Because control is only the entry point. The first Stoic secret to walking away is this. You have to audit your anchors before you can cut them. Think of your life like a ship. A ship can be fast, powerful, built for open water. But if it is dragging 20 anchors, it picked up from every harbor it ever docked in, it is going nowhere. An anchor is anything you are holding on to, not because it serves you, but because leaving it feels like losing. Old grudges are anchors. Identities built around suffering are anchors. A friendship you outgrew 2 years ago, but still maintain out of guilt, is an anchor. The Stoics had a word for this kind of misplaced loyalty. They called it amor fati gone wrong. Loving your fate so much that you confuse your past pain with your actual self. Walking away from your anchors does not mean forgetting where you docked. It means deciding where you are sailing next. But wait. Before you start tossing things overboard, there is a Stoic secret most people completely skip. And it has everything to do with why smart people stay stuck the longest. The second secret is called the sunk cost trap. And the Stoics saw it coming, centuries before economists gave it a name. Chrysippus, one of the lesser-known giants of Stoic logic, argued that reason should always govern action forward, not backward. In modern terms, the money you already spent is gone. The years you already gave are gone. The emotional energy you already invested is gone. None of that is a reason to keep going. It is just weight disguised as justification. Here is the brutal modern version. You do not stay in a job for 5 more miserable years because you have already been there 5 years. You do not stay in a relationship that is slowly crushing you because of the trip you already booked together in March. The Stoics would say, the past is a closed account. Stop trying to make withdrawals. Every day you stay for the wrong reasons is a day you spend someone else's currency on someone else's timeline. And if that one hit close to home, the next secret is going to hit closer. Because it is about the single most dangerous word in the English language when it comes to your freedom. That word is eventually. As in, things will get better eventually. They will appreciate me eventually. I will leave eventually. The third Stoic secret is that eventually is a trap with velvet walls. Seneca, and yes, we are going to mention him once because this angle on him is one almost nobody talks about. Seneca spent years promising himself he would slow down eventually. He was one of the most powerful men in Rome. He wrote beautifully about time being the most precious resource. And then he kept giving it away. He wrote in one of his lesser-cited letters that he was more ashamed of wasting time than of wasting money, because time could never be returned. and yet the waste continued. Seneca knew the philosophy and still struggled to live it. The lesson is not that Seneca was a hypocrite. The lesson is that knowing is not enough. Eventually requires a date, or it is just a wish wearing a deadline costume. Walking away means picking a date and making it a decision, not a daydream. And here is the thing about decisions. The Stoics understood something about them that modern psychology is only now catching up to. The fourth secret is about identity, and this one is going to sting a little. Most people do not stay in bad situations because they are weak. They stay because they have stitched that situation into who they believe they are. The person who always shows up, the one who never quits, the loyal one, the one who fixes broken things. These are beautiful traits in the right context and chains in the wrong one. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius, and again we are not going to quote the usual suspects, wrote in a private journal he never intended for anyone to read, that a person must be willing to revise their self-conception when new evidence demands it. In plain English, who you were yesterday does not have to be a life sentence for tomorrow. Walking away is not a betrayal of your identity, it is an upgrade of it. You are not abandoning who you are, you are becoming someone your old self did not yet have the courage to be. Now identity is powerful, but there is something even more foundational than identity, and the fifth Stoic secret cuts right to it. The fifth secret is about desire, specifically the desire for approval, and why it is the quietest thief of freedom you will ever encounter. The Stoic Musonius Rufus, a name you almost never hear in YouTube videos, taught that the philosopher must be willing to be thought a fool by those who value the wrong things. Read that again. Willing to be thought a fool by the right people, because the wrong people will always misread your boundaries as weakness, your silence as defeat, and your exit as failure. If you are staying in something only because leaving will look bad, you are not making a choice. You are outsourcing your life to an audience that is not even paying attention to you as much as you think they are. Neuroscience actually backs this up. People overestimate how much others notice their decisions by a factor of 3 to 1. It is called the spotlight effect. You think everyone is watching. They are mostly just worrying about their own spotlight. Walk away. The crowd will move on in 48 hours or less. So you have audited your anchors. You have called out the sunk cost trap. You have set a date, instead of whispering eventually. You have revised your identity and stopped renting your choices to other people's opinions. Good. Now we are moving into the territory where most self-improvement content goes completely silent. Because the next 5 secrets are not about leaving bad things. They are about what happens inside you during the walk. And that is where most people collapse halfway through the door. The sixth secret is about discomfort, and the Stoics had a counterintuitive take on it that will rewire how you think about every hard moment in your exit. Hierocles, a Stoic philosopher whose work survived only in fragments, wrote extensively about the practice of voluntary discomfort, not as punishment, as training. The idea is simple and almost aggressively practical. If you only ever stay comfortable, you will always mistake discomfort for danger, and walking away from anything meaningful is always uncomfortable. Your nervous system will scream that something is wrong because something is changing, and your brain is wired to treat change and threat as the same signal. The Stoic move is to recognize that discomfort during a walk away is not a warning. It is a receipt, proof that what you are leaving actually mattered, and proof that you are strong enough to leave it anyway. Discomfort is not a stop sign. It is a confirmation that you are moving in a real direction. But here is the part that trips people up even after they accept the discomfort, and that brings us straight to secret number 7. The seventh secret is the one the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, and most people translate it as negative visualization, which frankly is the least sexy way to describe one of the most powerful mental tools ever developed. Here is the modern version. Before you walk away from anything significant, sit down and fully imagine the worst realistic outcome, not the catastrophic nightmare spiral, the worst plausible outcome. Your friends think you made a mistake. You feel lonely for a season. The financial adjustment is harder than expected. You second-guess yourself at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Now here is the twist. The Stoics did not do this exercise to prepare for failure. They did it to dissolve fear's grip before fear could use uncertainty as its weapon. Fear of the unknown is almost always worse than the known thing you are afraid of. When you map out the worst realistic outcome and realize you can survive it, your hesitation loses its teeth. Walking away becomes a calculated move instead of a terrifying leap. You are not jumping into darkness. You are stepping into a room you already mentally furnished. Now you have done the inner work. You are uncomfortable on purpose, and you have pre-mortemed the decision like a pro. But there is a social dimension to walking away that almost nobody addresses, and secret 8 is where the Stoics absolutely destroyed the conventional wisdom. The 8th secret is about loyalty, and the Stoics had a razor-sharp distinction between loyalty to a person and loyalty to a dynamic. Most of us confuse the two, and it costs us enormously. You can deeply love someone and still walk away from what your relationship has become. You can deeply respect an organization and still leave what it has turned into. The Stoic Cato the Younger, a man so committed to his principles that his story reads more like a Marvel character than a philosopher, drew this line constantly in his political life. He did not leave Rome because he stopped loving Rome. He walked away from corrupt systems while his love for the ideal remained intact. In your life, this means the conversation you are walking away from is not about the person. It is about what continuing that conversation costs your integrity. The relationship you are stepping back from is not a verdict on the history you shared. It is a decision about the future you deserve. You can honor the past and still refuse to live inside it. And speaking of what you deserve, Secret 9 is where we need to talk about something the Stoics understood but rarely stated directly. And it is going to make a lot of people in the comments uncomfortable. The 9th secret is that walking away is an act of self-respect, and self-respect is not arrogance. It is basic philosophical hygiene. Epictetus taught that every person has a ruling faculty, a rational core that either guides the whole life or gets dragged around by everything external. When you stay in situations that violate your values out of fear or habit or guilt, you are not being humble. You are abandoning your own governing center. You are letting the external world make decisions that only your internal world has the authority to make. In practical terms, this looks like saying yes when your entire nervous system is screaming no. It looks like minimizing your own needs to avoid making someone else uncomfortable. It looks like calling self-betrayal by the nicer name of patience. The Stoics would say, every time you override your own reason for the comfort of someone else's expectations, you hand them the wheel of your life without a contract. Walking away is how you take the wheel back, not with anger, not with drama, with quiet, unshakable self-possession. We are almost at the final secret, and I promise you this one lands differently than you expect, because it is not about any single decision you will ever make. The 10th and final secret is perhaps the most radical Stoic idea about walking away, and it is this. The ultimate walk is not from a person or a place or a job. It is from the version of you that needed other people's chaos to feel alive. This one hits differently because it forces you to ask an uncomfortable question. Are you addicted to the very situations you complain about? Research in behavioral psychology shows that high-conflict, high-drama environments create genuine neurological dependency. Your brain adapts to chaos the same way it adapts to any repeated stimulus. It starts to feel like normal. Calm starts to feel like danger. Peace starts to feel boring. The Stoic tradition identified this phenomenon without the neuroscience language. They called it the tyranny of habit and argued that a person who cannot sit quietly without agitation has not yet learned to live. The deepest walk you will ever take is not away from a toxic relationship or a soul-crushing career. It is away from your own appetite for noise. When peace stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like power, that is when you know the walk is complete. So here is where we land. Walking away is not giving up. It is not weakness wearing a disguise. It is the oldest, sharpest, most underrated form of discipline that human wisdom has ever produced. Every single point in this list, from auditing your anchors to walking away from your addiction to chaos, comes down to one core Stoic truth. You cannot build a life on a foundation you keep apologizing for leaving. You are allowed to outgrow things. You are allowed to choose peace without performing guilt about it. You are allowed to be the person who left and still be the hero of the story. Now here is your move. If one of these 10 secrets cracked something open for you, drop the number in the comments. Just the number, 1 through 10. No explanation needed. The number alone will say everything. And if you are watching this because you are standing at a door right now trying to decide whether to walk through it, let this video be your sign, not permission. You do not need permission. Let it be a reminder that you already know what to do. You have known for a while. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of content, because we go deep here, and we go there consistently. The next video is going to challenge something else you think you already understand. See you there.